Here's the stamp watercolor project we're going to do today using art impression stamps, and I call this piece Peaceful View. Okay, we use this little bridge in the Art Impressions 5122 WC bridge set. These two vines in the number 5126 WC foliage set 4. We used this little shack in the 5121 WC garden shed set. We used this little boy right here from the 5054 WC little boys set. The bench in 5055 WC sitting places set. This branch in the 4964 WC branches set. This little tree in the 5010 WC tree set 1. The little grass in the 4051 foliage set. The little leaves here from the 4808 covered bridge mini set. This little pot in the 4869 WC small container set. This little plant set, the little flowers bundle from the 5009 WC mini flower set. This little flower right here from the 5008 WC flower set 3. And this big bundle of flowers from the 4868 WC flower set 2. And let's begin. I did a practice session on some cheap watercolor paper that I got from the Dollar Tree, just to get a layout and to look at different colors to see how I want to do it. And so I'm going to do the actual project on some Strathmore watercolor paper, cold press watercolor paper. And we will start by stamping the little bench. And I'm going to use a Marvy LePlume II water-based marker, using number 45 sepia. And I'm going to use a stamp positioner because I want to make sure it's positioned in just the right spot. So I will first stamp it on my acrylic plate. Then I will ink it up again. As you can see in our little practice session, the little boy is sitting on the bench and this pot is also on the bench. So I'm going to want to just wipe off the top where the boy is going to sit, and also this side where the pot is going to go. Sorry, got interrupted by a phone call. And so let's re-ink this up. And we will remove the spot where the boy is sitting, which is right here, and also the spot where the pot is going to go. So I'm going to place this about where I want it, which is probably about right there, and then we'll stamp it on. Okay, next we'll do the little boy using the number 45 sepia again. Okay, next I'll use the stamp positioner to stamp in the little pot. Okay, now we'll use a size 4 watercolor brush. Dip it in water, and then I'm going to squeeze off the excess water. And I'm going to bring out the color from the lines. Okay, next we'll stamp in the shed. So I'm going to ink it up again with number 45 sepia. Okay, and now we'll bring out the water, the soften the lines with a little bit of water. Okay, now we'll do the bridge. And now soften the lines. Okay, now we'll stamp in the trees. So I'm going to put a mask on the roof line here. And we'll get the little tree. And I'm going to use number 15, olive green, to ink up the tree. And I will use the number 45, sepia, for the trunk. Okay, now we'll soften the lines. And for this, I am just going to dab on the green of the trees to soften them up. I am not going to use a brush motion. And for the trunk of the trees, I will just soften that a bit with a damp brush. Okay, for the water, I am going to put number 17, steel blue, and I'm going to put it over here on my palette, which is off screen, but I'm going to get the color from the palette, and then I'm just going to brush it in. Okay, I'm put number 45, sepia, on my palette, and I'm going to add some color to this bench. Okay, I'm going to use my big bundle of flowers. I am going to put a mask on the pot. I'm going to use number 55, iris purple, for the flowers. And for the stems, number 15. And I'll wet my brush, squeeze it off, and I will just dab at the blossoms here. I'm not going to do the stems, just the blossoms. Okay. Okay, for the little shack, I'm going to use number 13, which is ochre. And I put that on my palette. And I will just and I'm going to give that a little bit of a chance to dry, and I'll use my number 45 from the palette, the sepia, to color up the bridge. Okay, for the little boy's jumper, I'm going to use some number 15, also off the palette. And I'll use number 15 again from the palette to do the trim around the door. Okay, I'm going to use the fine tip of my number 45 sepia. Okay, for the roof of the shack, I'm going to use some number 27 olive brown. Okay, now I'll take some number 15 off of the palette. Okay, number 45, the fine tip to color in this little tag on the back of his jumper. And also some of the number 15. Okay, for the boy's skin, I'm going to use some number 30 rosewood. Put some on my palette. Okay, and now I'll take a little bit of 45 off my palette just to darken the areas of his skin that would be the darkest. And I'm going to use sepia to color his hair. Okay, I'm going to give his hair a little bit of a chance to dry. And while I do that, I am going to stamp these little flowers up by the window. And I'm going to stamp these in number 79 grape. And I'm just going to ink up the flowers. And squeeze off the brush and soften these blossoms. Okay, and I'll take the small bundle of flowers and I'm just going to ink up the flower portion with number 55. Okay, and we're going to take the two vines and ink them up with number 15 olive green. Okay, and I'll take my brush, squeeze off the excess water, and just dab at these vines to soften them. Okay, I'm going to take the fine tip of my number 45 sepia and okay, now I'll take some number 45 from my sepia, or sepia from the palette. Okay, I'll take some more of the 15, or the 17, the blue color. Okay, next we'll take our small grass, and with the number 15, the green, we'll add some grass. And you ink it up, and then you just kind of walk it in a little line. Okay, now we will soften the lines of the grass we just added with a stroking motion up and out. Okay, I'm going to put some number 6 brown on my palette, and then I will add that to the pot. Okay, now I'm going to take some of my number 45 from the palette. I'm going to add my vines back in to the pot here. Okay, and I will soften these vines. And I'll pick up some more number 45 sepia from my palette. Okay, I'll put some of my number 15 green onto my palette. Okay, some more of my sepia so I can ground the pot over here. And some more of the number 15 green. Okay, I'm going to put some number 83 butterscotch onto my palette. And I'm going to just draw some stripes on his shirt. Okay, now I'm going to put some number 86 African Violet onto my palette. And I am going to paint in the shadows. I'm going to take the fine tip of my sepia and I'm going to redefine the boy's tips of his hair. And I'll take the fine tip of my sepia again and okay, I'll take some of the 15 from my palette, dilute it quite a bit, and I will just draw in some sky here. Okay, and while I'm waiting for the sky to dry, any other places that I need to touch up with the fine tip of any of my markers? Okay, now I want to stamp the branch over the boy's head, so I'm going to ink up this branch with number 45 sepia. Then I'll take the little leaf stamp and my number 15 green. And the leaf stamp, they're shaped like little hearts, and you want the hearts, the humps of the hearts facing up. And so I'm just going to do multiple stampings with each inking. And I think the last thing I'll do, I haven't added my turtle here to a piece for a while, so I'm going to ink that up with number 45, and I stamped it on my positioner, and then I will stamp it in place. Okay, and I'll use my number 27. This one is olive brown, and I will use this to just color in the body. And I'll take my number 45 sepia and I'll use my number 30 rosewood from the palette. Okay, and I'll do the number 27 olive brown. Okay, and then I'll use my number 15 olive green again and my small grass. And squeeze my brush and bring up the grass. And I'm going to take my fine tip of my Marvy marker again, the number 45. It's pretty much done. All I got left is sign and date. Then I am going to spray it with an acrylic coating to protect it. And when I'm finished with that, I will be back. And here's the final product after I finished spraying it with the acrylic coating. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.